You're in a band and you want to make a living off your music. You have to have a band agreement. This video is all about that agreement. Hey everyone. I've mentioned this band agreement thing a few times in a few different videos. So I just figured I'd save you the hassle of finding the information elsewhere and just give it to you here on my channel. The idea of a band agreement, in case you haven't watched my other videos, is all about having some easy and some difficult conversations and just making sure that everyone's on the same page before too much time and money is spent and then just flushed down the toilet because of any kind of surprise situation. For instance, I once worked with an amazing singer-songwriter for a few years. She was great and our connection was incredible. But come to find out, after 2 years of working together, she wanted nothing to do with the business side of music. The most insulting thing to her as an artist was using the music we had made to make a profit. I was scratching my head thinking, wait, what? So why else would we be doing this? I mean, other than the obvious reason, the artistic reason, but you don't want success? You don't want money? You want to be struggling your whole life, paycheck to paycheck? Why? Anyway, as I've said before, there was nothing wrong with her perspective and there was nothing wrong with mine. I just wish I'd known her perspective before we started working together. Guess how many of those 40, 50 songs are being used for licensing or for pitching to artists these days? That would be a big, fat 0. Why? Well, I own 50% of the writing and can't do anything without her consent since she owns the other 50%. So let me take you through a few of the points you need to be covering in a band agreement. And I say a few of them because there's no one-size-fits-all here. Whatever's important to you guys, put it in there. But to get you started, here are some of the basics. Who owns the rights to the songs? Who's paying for the songs to be produced, recorded, mixed, mastered? Who's paying for all the gear? Who's paying for the rehearsal space where the gear is? Who owns the name of the band? If there's a logo, who owns the logo? If someone left, what would the financial arrangement be? If someone was left, fired, what would the financial arrangement be in that point? As you'll see in the contract I've linked in the description, which is actually an old band agreement from my past. If you look closely, you'll even find my real name. As I was saying, in that one, we went as far as discussing really deep points. I mean, we discussed recording contract advances, publishing contract advances, writing publishing splits, royalties, live performance splits, merchandising, album music sales, musical performance and licensing, and of course, appearance fees. So as you can see, we went deep down that rabbit hole because we already had management in place and there was talk about some real money being made. But you know what? The music was incredible. The singer was amazing. But it didn't take off because of a million different reasons. No biggie. You know why? Because we had that scenario already discussed and agreed upon in advance in the contract. As I said, that was a very in-depth contract. Yours doesn't actually have to be that long or that serious. Just do what you need to do and that's that. But with that in mind, let's go over the basics that I mentioned. Who owns the rights to the songs? Is the whole band splitting the writing and publishing evenly, no matter who writes what? Are you guys doing it on a song-by-song basis? So whoever contributes gets writing credits and whoever doesn't. What happens if you own 25% because you guys agreed to share everything, and then 2 months later, you leave after you guys wrote 50 songs? I mean, do you keep your writing share in those 50 songs? Or is the writing share contingent on you being an active part of the band? Something to think about. Maybe you guys keep the writing rights on a song-by-song case, but agree to split the publishing evenly. That happens a lot. But same question, what happens when you leave? Do you retain the rights? Maybe you retain them if you leave, but if you're fired, you get all your publishing taken away. On that note, who decides who can fire who? I mean, is this a democracy or a dictatorship? Whatever you decide, I'm not saying it should be one way or the other, but you should definitely think about these things because it happens every day to hundreds, if not thousands, of indie and famous bands worldwide. Speaking of rights, let's talk about some of the other rights. The rights to the master. What I'm referring to when I say master is what's called the master recording. The person who actually pays for the recording to be made is the one who owns it, unless you've discussed this and agreed to otherwise. So, scenario. Maybe you're in a band and you're the one with the money. Now, out of the kindness of your heart and because you really believe in the band, you flip the bill for 10 grand to record the EP. Well, your bandmates, and even you might not know this, but you own those recordings. What happens when you decide to leave 2 months later because the drummer stole your girlfriend and shit got super weird? I'm not sure what you guys decided about the writing and publishing splits, but those recordings, you own them. If they want them, they have to buy them off of you. Or at the very least, they have to pay their share to split them with you. Or maybe you worked out some other arrangement in the band agreement for this exact scenario. Well, hopefully you did, or hopefully you will after watching this video. Who's paying for all the gear? Is it split evenly? How do you guys want to be reimbursed for it if it is? Or is it paid for by one person in the band? Are they being reimbursed first before any income gets split? On that note, since some of you might be taking a bigger financial burden and risk than the others, what's the end split? Meaning, if I'm putting in $10,000 for the EP because everyone else doesn't have the cash right now, that's okay. But I'm risking 10 grand I may never see again. So on the back end, shouldn't I be getting more? Shouldn't I be getting a bigger chunk of cash because I'm assuming all the risk? What if the band breaks up 6 months later? Again, this happens literally all the time. So now I'm stuck with a bill for 10 grand and the other guys, they just walk away? There's gotta be something in it for me on the back end if I'm gonna assume all the financial risk. I don't know the answer, but you guys need to talk about whatever you're comfortable with. By the way, everything I'm saying here also goes into brand ownership and logo. So say you had a band, or better yet, a duo. You guys called yourself Funky Monkeys and had a cool ass logo on all your merch. Well, your partner leaves and goes on to have a family and become a very successful entertainment attorney. Well, you've got time and money invested in this brand, right? I mean, can you just take it and continue with a new partner? Or do you have to buy out your old partner? What did you guys work out for this scenario? Last topic I'm going to mention in this video is leaving the band. Well, actually, I've mentioned it before, but let's say your bass player is awesome. He's great on stage, he's super talented, and good looking. All the girls and guys are into him. Well, he got his girl pregnant. They're getting married. Mazal tov. The time for bands is over, and he's going to work for her dad. Oh, well, all is well with them, but what about the band and all the money that was spent? I mean, that guy is now $5,000 short and needs to get that money back because he's about to have a kid. Everyone hates this scenario, but life will go on and the band will find a new bass player. But wait, what about paying the old bass player back? So are you guys buying him out, of his share and paying him back? Maybe he can make a certain amount of money back per show. So even though he's not there, he's still getting paid for a certain amount of time until he's recouped. Also, what about the writing, the publishing, master rights? Does he own any of it? Maybe he was the main writer for your 2 singles. Is it still cool and legal for you guys to be making money off of them? Maybe he has a special connection to those songs and doesn't really feel comfortable with you performing them without him. As I've said before, this is no biggie when there's no real money, but what about when you get your real break and blow up 6 months later? Now take that whole scenario and flip it. The guitarist is unfortunately taking after her uncle and becoming a raging alcoholic. She's become a huge liability for the rest of the band. They've worked so hard for so many years. They finally have the management deal. They finally have the publishing deal, and she's about to blow it for all of them. A band and management decision is made that she's got to go. Well, what did you work out financially for this exact kind of situation? I hope you discuss that all in advance and put it in writing. That way you can always say, see, we spoke about this 3 years ago and we all signed it. Okay guys, as you can tell, I'm just scratching the surface here. This kind of deal is super personal on a business level and very specific to each case individually. But I'm sure you can see now why these things have to be discussed in advance. Once shit gets real, things have a tendency to kind of spiral out of control. This written band agreement is your attempt to solve these situations before they even happen, because with any luck, your band will blow up and you will be dealing with at least some of these scenarios. If you haven't yet, check out the band agreement I have in the link below. If you dig the topics, I always love to see new subs, new likes, and new comments. Catch you next time.
This is great. I wonder if it's because we already read through
Them, so.
Nice.
But let me do that for you again. It's fine. Then it's a 30. It's a third question. What happens when you leave? My mustache is a little getting in the way, you know what I mean? I just